All right, so let's get started. Hello everyone, welcome to our YouTube channel, that is UPSC by Naman Raj Gupta. Today we are going to start with lecture number 13 of first chapter, that is ethics and human interface. Okay, before starting I have to attend to one of the query in one of the comment that I have received. One question that was being posed to me was that, sir, why this particular chapter is going so long, right? So just to answer you this particular question, this chapter is indeed very long. Why very long? There is a reason behind it, because this particular chapter is kind of summary of entire syllabi of GS paper number 4, right? It has a kind of entirety of the notion or entirety of the ideas or brief ideas about each and every topic that we are going to cover in the entire syllabus, right? From attitude, from values, from different values in private and public lives, and etc and etc. This is nothing but a set of ideas or set of basic ideas or summary that is being given as an introduction of the entire syllabus. Okay, this is why this particular lecture is very lengthy, and also we are also trying to do each and every topic in very detailed manner, because if you have abundance of content, you will be able to reproduce that effectively as per the demand of the question in the examination, with proper case studies, proper examples, and etc, right? So this is why I have planned this particular lecture in very comprehensive manner, and and that is it about it. All right, so soon we are going to start with the next chapter. Okay, and in today's lecture we are basically going to see the role of education institution in inculcating values, right? In the previous lecture we have seen role of family, right, where we have seen how family plays a very important role as an agent of primary socialization in inculcating values in the children, right? So if you guys haven't watched the previous lecture, I highly and sincerely advise and also recommend you to go and watch the previous lecture after this lecture and have that continuity of conceptual understanding. All right, so let's get started with today's lecture, people. And today is the very important time in the era of our history, right, where we are facing or where we are experiencing, to use more appropriate term, the most advancement of technological and all the technological events of the world, right? From technological revolution to the various upsurgement of various technological materials like artificial intelligence, right, genetic engineering, and etc. It is very high time for us and also the educational institutions, because there are two kind of factors that come into play, right? What are the two factors that come into play in inculcating values? कौन से दो important factors play करते हैं in inculcating value? The first is family, the second is educational institutions, right? During the very early or formative years of individual's life, जब बच्चे बहुत ज़्यादा formative years में होते हैं, तब ये दो factors, that is family and educational institutions, play a very key role in shaping one's value, right? We tend to learn very basic values in the home, very universal basic values in the home, but education institution is something which gives individual or the child a real experience to the world, right, by introducing several real problems, real things which is happening in the world to the child, right? So child will not learn about AI in the home, he will learn about artificial intelligence in school. Why? Because his or her teacher will introduce him or her, right? That is why here the education institution becomes a very key player in introducing the real world problem challenges to the student, right? And in this particular world of technological advancement and revolution, it becomes very important for education institutions to inculcate right balance and right values in the student, so as to take oneself out from the misery, right, which is also being produced as an ramification or unwanted consequence of this fast pacing change of world and technological revolution, right? So why we are doing this, why we are dealing with this particular topic, that is role of education institution? One factor I have already told you, that is the world is very very fast changing, and in order to escape from the misery of the change, from the misery of the revolution, the education institution must ensure that there is effective delivery of or effective inculcation of values in the students, right? Now let's jump on the board, now let's refocus ourselves on the board and see what are some other factors, right? So the most important factor is the crisis of value that is prevailing in the society of today's time. What is crisis of value? Crisis of value is very beautifully portrayed through this particular quote in Bhagavad Gita, right? Which is also one of the universal legend of our country. Here, in one of the conversation between Duryodhana and Sri Krishna, Duryodhana says that Janami dharma nachami pravriti, Janami adharma nachami nirviti. Now, my English friends or the people who are not well versed in Sanskrit might have this big question mark in their brain. Like बहुत लोगों के ये तो दिमाग को ऐसे जस्ट छू के चले गया होगा, राइट? कि सर आपने क्या बोल दिया. But this is very very relevant issues of today's world. What is janami dharme nachami pravriti? It is basically an idea that I know what dharma is, right? Here Duryodhana is saying to Sri Krishna, hey Sri Krishna, hey Lord, I know what dharma is, but I am not inspired. But I am not inspired to follow it, right? I know what dharma is. I am aware about what dharma is, but I am not inspired to pursue it. And janami adharma nachame nirviti. What does this particular sloka means? It basically means, hey Sri Krishna, I know what adharma is. I also know what adharma is, but I am not, or I cannot withdraw from it. I cannot withdraw from it. Okay. Here Duryodhana is saying that, hey Lord, I know what dharma is. He knows what dharma is. It is not the case that Duryodhana was basically a negative protagonist in Mahabharata, right? If you guys have a basic idea about Bhagavad Gita, you might be knowing who the character Duryodhana was. He is basically a portrait of all the negative vices which was prevailing in the society of his time, right? Which also led to the war of Mahabharata between the two ruling clans of Kauravas and Pandavas, right? So here Duryodhana says to the Krishna, hey Sri Krishna, I know what dharma is, but I am not inspired to pursue it. मैं जानता हूं कि धर्म क्या है, but मेरी इच्छा नहीं है उसे pursue करने का या उसे follow करने का. एंड मुझे ये भी मालूम है कि अधर्म क्या है, बट मैं उससे अपने आप को छुटकारा नहीं पा सकता, राइट? आई कैन नॉट विड्रॉ फ्रॉम इट. दिस इज द आइडिया ऑफ क्राइसिस ऑफ वैल्यू विच इज प्रिवेलेंट and which is pervasive in today's society, despite each and every one of us knowing what is dharma, right? What is dharma, what is ethics, we are not following it, right? Whenever we get the chance or opportunity to engage in any sort of negative deed, we easily tend to do it, right? We easily tend to do it. Whenever we get the opportunity to give a bribe, we will do it despite knowing that it is wrong, right? Whenever we cross jump red light, let's say red lights in the traffic, and when we get caught by the traffic police, we first and foremost approach will be, we'll try to bribe them, right? कि sir ले लो 100-200 रुपए and छोड़ दो, despite knowing that it is bad, right? We usually, it becomes our general tendency to lie sometimes, right? Despite knowing that it is not good and it will always lead us to a bad consequences, right? But despite knowing what dharma is, despite knowing what our values are, we still engage in such sort of negative activities. This is basically a crisis of value. And here, why or how can we relate the crisis of value and role of education institution in inculcating values? Now here the education institution have to ensure that what in the system is going wrong, what in the system is going wrong, which is leading the society to the idea of crisis of value, right? Because here education institution is also one of the major source of inculcation of values, right? हम जो भी वैल्यूज हमारे अंदर होती हैं या तो हम फैमिली से सीखते हैं या हम एजुकेशन इंस्टीट्यूशन से सीखते हैं, राइट? लाइक इट इज अ बेसिक एडेग, अ बेसिक कहावत जो हिंदी में बोलते हैं कि फ्रॉम वेयर एवर यू लर्न योर पर्सनालिटी इज द मैनिफेस्टेशन ऑफ दैट पर्टिकुलर एजुकेशन इंस्टीट्यूशन, राइट? So here education institution play very crucial role in shaping one's personality, shaping one's ideologies, shaping one's value, right? So what in the system of education institution is going wrong, which is leading to the crisis of value in the society, right? That is why we are now again focusing back on the role of education system so as to find what is going wrong in the system, so that the issues like crisis of values is prevailing in the society, right? This is why this particular topic is prescribed in the paper number 4, that is GS-4 of GS paper or UPSC paper, right? Ethics and human integrity, right? So this is why it becomes very important to know the reason behind learning any topic. If we will blind jump into understanding any topic, we will again lead ourselves into misery, because it will again become a rote learning and we will get nothing out of it which can be helpful at a society at large. Okay, so here the reinforcement of value formulated during the first stage. Okay, education institution also play very key role in reinforcing values that we learn at the first stage. What are the values that we learn at the first stage? What is the first stage here? The first stage is basically the family, right? As we have done in the previous lecture. If you guys haven't watched the previous lecture, go and watch that lecture after attending this particular lecture. Okay, there you will get to know what the role that family plays in shaping one's value, right? So here education institutions like school, pre-primary schools, higher secondary schools play as a reinforcement for the values that we inculcate in our homes, right? Let's say in our home we learn the values like empathy. जब भी दो छोटे बच्चों में एक चॉकलेट को लेकर लड़ाई होती है घर में, बच्चे पेरेंट्स हमेशा अपने बच्चों को बोलते हैं वो आपकी भाई हैं, वो आपके बहन हैं, यू शुड शेयर इट विद देम, यू शुड नॉट ईट इट अलोन, राइट? ऐसा आप सबके घर में होता होगा इफ यू गाइस हैव अ सिबलिंग और कजन्स एंड एक्सेट्रा, राइट? So just think, what are the kind of values you are inculcating in that particular situation, right? While sharing, you learn the values like empathy, that you should also understand the situation, interest of the other side, like your sibling, other sibling, right? You are learning the value of care, you are learning the value of respect, you are learning the value of what? Love, right? You are learning the value of sympathy, you are learning the value of compassion and etc., right? So you are learning in that particular primary stage, that is family. Now when you come to the school, school for your basic elementary education, you get to apply all those values with your friends in the school, right? Let's say you admit yourself or your kids in the kindergarten school, right? Whatever values they learn in the family, they will get to apply those values in the school with their friends, right? This is how the school becomes a reinforcer of the values that are being learned in the primary stage, that is family, right? The children, the kids, if they have learned the good values in the family, that is the first stage, they will also reciprocate or manifest such good values in their primary schools as well, right? They will make sure to share their tiffin with their friends, they will make sure to respect each other and not engage in any foul activities in their school with their friends while playing, right? So this is how the importance of education institutions that surface in shaping the value in the kids, right? That is why it becomes very, very important for us to know the role of education institution in inculcating values, right? So before understanding what the education institution, or what kind of role does a education institution plays in shaping the value, we have to understand what a education is, right? We have to understand what does the education means. We all know that what education is, right? We all know that. But if I suddenly ask you what is education, right? Amit, explain what is education in a line. You will get blunt. You will not be able to explain it despite knowing what education is, and we are receiving it since our childhood, right? That is why it becomes important to know what education is. So education is a process, right? Education is a lifelong process through which individual acquires all the experiences, knowledge and wisdom to realize one's actual potential, right? It is a lifelong process. Education is not one short game, or it only relates to any particular time in our life. It is a lifelong process which continues or goes on throughout our life, right? Even some people, they pursue their PhDs in very later ages of their time, near their retirements. They pursue their PhDs and etc., right? This is how the relevance of education becomes in one's life. It is a lifelong process of acquiring experiences, knowledge, wisdom to acquire our true potential. Whenever we are born with a clean slate. Our brain as a clean slate. There is a thinker called as John Locke. John Locke, he propounds the idea of tabula rasa. He propounds the idea of tabula rasa. What is tabula rasa? Tabula rasa is basically a doctrine which says that a child is born with a clean slate, right? What is clean slate? Without any knowledge, without any experience, without any wisdom. And through the process of education, we inculcate, we gain, we acquire all wisdom or knowledge, all experiences in order to actualize, in order to realize the true potential of the individual, right? What is the true potential? What is the true potential? True potential is basically the true abilities and capabilities that are inherited, that are immanent in each and every individual. And through the process of education, we gradually chisel ourselves. We harness our true potential, right? हम अपने खुद के real potential को actualize करते हैं, right? Until and unless one do not pass oneself through this rigorous process of education, one will never be able to reach one's true potential, right? Again, their means of education can be different, right? The one means of education can be like the conventional one that we all go through, the school, colleges and etc. Other means of education can be a life experiences itself. Even experiences that we tend to gain through our different activities is a great source of learning in itself. It is a great source of education in itself, all right? So it does not necessarily mean that if someone has not gone to the school will neglect himself from the process of education, right? His means of attaining that same education can be different, but at the end what matters is the acquisition of experiences, wisdom and knowledge, right, to acquire one's true potential. This is what education means. It is not rote learning that we all experience in today's time of education, right? Rote learning to pass examination, right? Now let's see what Martin Luther King has to say about education. So he says that intelligence plus character, that is the true goal of education. Here he is giving what is the true goal of education. He says that intelligence plus character, right? Here character becomes very, very important. Even Gandhiji, right? Martin Luther King was greatly influenced by Gandhiji, and I am guessing that his idea of education is somewhere influenced from Gandhi's social sins, right? Social sins, where Gandhiji in one of his 7 social sins, he says that knowledge without character, knowledge without character is a social sin, right? Knowledge without character. And this is also one of the PYQs that has been asked, right? Why knowledge without character is a social sin? Because the consequence can be very, very ill, right? The great example is what? Not great, but infamous example is Osama bin Laden, a great personality, a great educated man, but he was without character. And what was ultimate consequence? That we all know, right? The promulgation of terrorism, the 9/11 attack, and etc., right? So that is why intelligence plus character. What is character? Character is basically a set of values, a set of principle, values, and ethics that one have, right? That is basically a character, right? So intelligence plus character is the true goal of education. Even Kothari commission, right? Kothari commission, remember here you have to quote this particular idea. This is also one of the reason why I am giving this important examples and case examples, right? Because if you add such examples in your answer, you will ensure the quality is utmost and very, very relatable to the evaluator. All right, that is why examples like Kothari commission, this is government backed commission. So the commission has rightly mentioned that destiny of nation is being shaped in her classroom, right? Destiny of a nation. Understand the intensity of this particular statement, which says that destiny of the nation is being shaped in her classroom, right? The commission could have said that the destiny of the nation is shaped in home or family. Why not family? Why not home? Right? But they have said that the destiny of nation is being shaped in her classroom, right? Classroom is not only a source of learning. Classroom is a melting pot, right? Why melting pot? Because here a different kind of socialization between diverse kind of people throughout the country takes place, right? Here the classroom is not a homogeneous set of people, right, where there is a one way learning that takes place. It is not that. It is basically amalgamation of, it is basically a mixture of diverse cultures, diverse perspective, diverse background that each and everyone brings and put forward, which engages a kind of experiential learning in order to shape the destiny of the nation, to shape the personality of the individual, right? And hence Kothari commission here says that destiny of nation is being shaped in her classroom. What we learn in the classroom, that should be reflected through our behavior in the society, right? So this is how important it becomes for us to know the role of education institution in shaping one's values, right? So now let's see what are some set of values that we tend to learn in, especially in the education institutions like school, colleges, and etc., right? So very, very important values like responsibilities, right? We tend to learn the sense of responsibility, right? If I have to give you one example, so basically whenever I led a project team, right, we used to, like, we all might be aware that we might be getting some sort of projects and activities in our school, right? And if you have given that particular role of leader, that you have to lead a particular group for this particular project, you kind of have a sense of responsibility, right? You learn to take responsibility. If certain responsibility is assigned to you, that puja, you should do such and such things before a deadline, right? You must have or feel the responsibility for finishing that particular task. Why? Because someone has entrusted upon you that you will successfully that particular task. And here you learn the sense of responsibility, right? Here you learn the sense of responsibility. You learn the sense of discipline, right? You learn the value of discipline, that I have to enter the class by this particular time or else I will be marked absent, right? That is why, and that is how you learn the discipline, you learn the punctuality, you learn the leadership skill, right? Let's say we play a sport. I used to play cricket. Cricket is my game, right? So I used to play great cricket, and there I learned that it is not always about our game. It is also about how our teammates feel and think about the situation, right? And there you will learn the role of leadership, how you can accommodate different contrasting values and come out with your own decision, right? This is how leadership you inculcate. Patience, right? Whenever during the time of examination, whenever result used to come out, I just used to get impatience. But that is how I learn that sometimes patience play great role in order to deal with the adverse situation. Just be patient, just be calm, and situation will get all right. Right? Mutual respect. How should I respect my peers in order to expect that same respect from them? Right? Cooperation, coordination, team spirit, and the man ki baat. What is man ki baat? The rest of the things which your man is telling, right? That I have also learned value A, I have also learned value B, I have also learned, let's say you have learned a value of love, what love is, right? What friendship is. You can add all such values in this particular list, right? These are some of the important values that we usually inculcate through the process of education, right? So what are those are the set of values that we learn as a student, right? What are the role that an education institutions play in shaping or inculcating value in us, right? So there are basically two key roles that a education institution plays, right? What are the two roles? The first is manifest, right? What is manifest? The basic meaning, which is open and clearly stated, right? If something is open and clearly stated, it is basically manifest, right? What is open and clearly stated in any classroom setup? It is basically the teaching. It is basically teaching, the discussion that takes place, the debate that we have in the classroom, and etc., right? So what is manifest role? It is basically the communication of information and transmission of knowledge, right? So how? Through teaching, through debate, through discussion, right? This becomes our means of communication of information and transmission of knowledge from one source to others, right? The source does not necessarily mean the teacher and student. The source can be peers as well, right? In the process of debate and discussion, we tend to learn more from our peers, right? Because they bring different set of perspective into a single platform, right? Where, let's say, if I have a set of perspective about, let's say, same-sex marriage, right? If my friend have some other perspective on same-sex marriage, we both tend to engage in this particular discussion, and we tend to come out with a new perspective, right? If I have some negative notion about same-sex marriage, and if my friend have some positive notion about same-sex marriage, we both will try to challenge our own ideas, right? And we will try to come out with more positive perspective on the same, which can be both fruitful and productive at the society at large, right? For the society at large. So this is how the first role, that is manifest, helps in inculcating values, right? It helps in socialization, right? How socialization? Because through debate, discussion, through different engaging and experiential mode of learning, we tend to engage in socialization, right? Socialization with whom? Socialization with our friends, socialization with our friends, socialization with our teachers, socialization with the different teams, and etc. And here we tend to challenge our values. If we have certain set of values which is not actually accepted at large, we tend to challenge it, and we tend to learn from socialization, from interaction with our friends, right? It prepares for future occupation, right? As I've already told you, all the professional communication or information is being departed in the schools, right? Hence it prepares us for the future occupation, right? Future occupation. It gives us a vocational training, right? Vocational training. So why it becomes important for us to know the importance of education institution, right? So let's see if education institution prepare us for future occupation, right? Say now today is the world of AI, today is the world of gene editing, right? And etc. And we all know today is the world of climate change, right? And we all know the ill consequences of all this, ill consequences of all this modern, what modern advancement. We all know the ill consequences of gene editing. We all know that ill consequences of AI, artificial intelligence. It can replace entire labor force. It can replace entire labor force, right? So it equally becomes important for education institution to inculcate values in us so as to tackle any future challenges which are being posed by this advancement in technology and society, right? We have to become responsible, right? Here the values like responsibility comes, right? How one can responsibly use such technologies so as to mitigate the impact of negative consequences of such technological advancement like AI, like gene editing, right? Like cloning of children that is being happening in society of today's time, right? That is how important it becomes for education institution to prepare students very future ready, right? So here the knowledge with character, right? As per Gandhiji's social sense, knowledge without character is something sinful, right? So if the school educational institution will give us knowledge about what? Knowledge about future ideas like AI, about gene editing, about cloning, about climate change, but if they will not teach us the character, the values, right? It will become social sin. Why? Because people will start exploiting the technology, right? And once people will start exploiting the technology, it will start producing the negative consequences, all right? And hence here it becomes very important for education institution to, with shaping the knowledge of individual, they also should shape the character, the value in the individual, so as to have harmony in the society and to tackle all the ill consequences, all the negative consequences of modernization in very effective manner, right? And the third idea is that it fosters what? Participatory democracy. How it fosters participatory democracy? Again, through discussion debate discussion protest, etc., right? So here we tend to engage ourselves in this debate. What is the significance of debate? Again, debate helps us in challenging our own preconceived notion, right? We all have certain set of values, we all have certain set of preconceived notion embedded in us, right? Here through debate we tend to challenge them, right? If there is some idea which is being propounded by, let's say, your friend, which is not which you are not finding it according to your perspective, and which is something good, if that values which is being propounded by your friend is good, you tend to challenge your own preconceived notion and you will try altering that, right? And this is how it fosters a sense of participatory democracy. How? Because we tend to engage in debate, discussion, protest, plea, and etc. in the education institutions, right? So this is the first role that is manifest, which is something open and clearly stated, right? What are the three factors that comes into play? It is basically socialization, it prepares us for future occupation, right? And it fosters participatory democracy. This is how the education institution helps us in shaping values, right? The second key role is basically the latent one, right? Which is hidden function. So whatever role a teacher does, right? Teacher Teacher basically does two things. First, she teaches how she teaches through communicating information, right? So this is the manifest role that we have already seen in the previous lecture. The second role is basically latent one, right? What is latent one? Which is something hidden, right? Which is something implicit, which is something covert, right? What is covert? Which cannot be seen, but still they kind of project such ideas, right? For example, a teacher transmits not just the knowledge but also the culture, right? Let's say if there are two teachers, right? Two teacher, one is teaching in very friendly way, one is teaching in very friendly way, right? And teacher B is teaching in very aggressive manner, right? Very aggressive manner, right? Through violent means like beating, scolding kids and etc., right? They are not just imparting the information, the knowledge, but they are also imparting their culture through their behavior, right? If the set of kids will learn from teacher A, they will become more sensible, more friendly, more happy. But at the same time, the kids who are learning or getting educated from teachers B, they will get disciplined, right? They will get disciplined, there's no doubt in it. They will have a sense of fear, they will have a sense of social control, but there are chances that they will also end up inculcating more aggressive values, more aggressive behaviors in them, right? They will tend to engage in aggressive and violent behavior with their peers as well, right? So this is how they transmit the culture as well from where they belong. Promoting social and political integration, right? So here the role of classroom comes. Classroom is not mere the exchange of information, but it is also a social and political integration. How social and political integration? Again, here different perspective, a different set of kids, they bring their different social and political perspective, right? If someone is, let's say, having a positive notion about same-sex marriage, and other individual is having some sort of negative perspective on same-sex marriage, and if person C or friend C is having some kind of neutral perspective, they all are bringing a different perspective which is being integrated in the classroom, right? And hence it becomes a platform for social and political integration. And here we all tend to know the different perspective from our peers, right? Maintaining social control, right? What is social control? Social control is basically an idea of regulating the behavior regulating the behavior of individual through different means like pressure, punishment and etc., right? So here the maintenance of social control becomes very important while when it comes to shaping an inculcation of values, right? Through social control, one tends to learn the values of discipline, responsibility, respect, mutual cooperation, coordination and etc., right? If there is no fear of punishment in school, we all will behave in what? Savage manner. We will all behave in notorious manner, right? That is why it becomes important to impose some kind of disciplinary action like punishment and etc., so as to maintain social control, and also that helps in inculcation of values like discipline, responsibility, non-violence, truth, honesty and etc., right? Serving as an agent of change, right? Why agent of change? Because again here the idea of role modeling comes, right? Idea of role modeling comes. What is role modeling or idea of role modeling? Idea of role modeling is basically, let's say there are two friends, or there is a student and a teacher, right? If student is kind of inspired through a teacher A, he likes the personality of teacher, he will also kind of inspired by him, and he will also try to change or mold his personality according to him, right? If teacher A is always punctual, is always on time, the student A will also try to what replicate the same kind of values of punctuality, discipline, and etc. Right? This is how a education institution becomes a agent of change also, right? So it creates social homogeneity, right? Through bringing different people in the same platform or same classroom. It basically try to create social homogeneity, right? Social homogeneity. That is why we have a system of uniform in the school. We have a system of uniform in the school, right? As you can see in the picture, when all wear the same uniform, they becomes a homogeneous entity, or they all become equal despite of their social and political differences, right? That this is how the education institution creates a social homogeneity by creating a sense of unity and oneness, right? A sense of unity and oneness, right? Now at the last, it is a tool of social change, right? Through role modeling that we have already seen. Through the means of role modeling, it becomes a tool of social change, right? We all might be inspired by some teachers in our school, right? And we tend to follow their behavior, we tend to replicate their personality, right? And that is how they change our behavior, right? In very productive manner. And in very childhood or initial years of education, we tend to make some teachers as our role models, right? हम बचपन से ही किसी एक्टर्स एंड एक्सेट्रा को अपने रोल मॉडल नहीं बनाते. हमारे इनिशियल रोल मॉडल्स कौन होता है? हमारे फेवरेट टीचर जो स्कूल में होते हैं, राइट? एंड वी टेंड टू फॉलो देम, वी टेंड टू replicate their behavior, and that is how the agent or the individual in education institutions like teachers, they become a tool of social change, they become a agent of change, right? So this is about the latent functions that a education institution play in inculcating the values, right? So what are the different ways, right? We have seen how or what kind of role education institution play in inculcating values. Now let's see what are the different ways through which education institution can inculcate values. The first is visual perception. What is visual perception? Visual perception is the ability to interpret the surrounding environment by processing different information such as symbols, images, drawing, charts, and etc. Right? So it is also powerful tool for communication of attitudes and values among students, right? Here I want to give you a very beautiful case study, right? Case example. Recently I have visited one of the Anganwadis, right? Anganwadi school, right? Anganwadi school. So these are basically a state-run primary or pre-primary education institution for kids, right? Anganwadi, where they are basically given midday meals and etc. to increase the attendance of the student, right? So it is basically very small one-room facility where kids of kindergarten age, they basically come and they engage in learning, right? Through plays and different activities, right? So there I have seen on the wall different graffitis, right? Different arts which were drawn on the wall, right? So what were the some of the paintings? It was related to tree plantations, right? Tree plantation, and there was a picture of a boy. There was a picture of a boy who was watering a sapling, right? Who was watering a sapling, right? I saw a boy who observed that particular painting, right? And he tend to replicate, right? He tried replicating the same thing. He took a water bottle that he brought from his home, and he also practiced. He also tried pouring the same water on the sapling which was outside the door, right? So this is how the visual perception of that particular small facility of classroom that held is shaping one's value. Through that particular visual perception, he is learning the value of what? He is learning the very beautiful values like sensibility, sensibility towards environment sensibility, sustainability, and etc. Right? This is how visual perception helps individuals in shaping their values. They, and especially children, they are very active learner when it comes to visual perception. Right? That is why they tend to learn very positive things by learning by looking at cartoons, animation, videos, and etc. Right? And if we show them very productive positive animation videos, cartoons, we paint the walls of the classroom in a very positive manner, then they will also tend to learn such values. Right? So also, as an administrator, it becomes very important for us to know how these very small things can play a great role in shaping one's value. Right? So most of the time we tend to neglect such ideas. Right? It is not the size of the school that matters. Right? It is not the size of or the sort of technology that we have in the classroom or advancement of infrastructure that we have in the school. It is about very small things like painting on the wall. Right? Which children tend to see more than the other facilities in the school, that will help them in shape their value. Right? So see, this is the first way through which education institution can inculcate values, by increasing or promoting more visual perception in their infrastructure. Right? Second, anecdotes. Right? So what are the anecdotes? It is basically the examples. Right? So in whichever class you go, you will sorry people, you will kind of see some sort of portrayals, right, or pictures of great personalities like Gandhiji. Right? So it is not just the picture that is important, right, but teachers should also teach them values related to their pictures. Right? Teachers will see the image of Gandhiji on the wall, right, but if they don't know who that particular person is, if they don't know what are the values that particular individual has given to the country at large, how will they associate with it? Right? That is why it also becomes very important for the teachers and the education institution to impart important anecdotes in the classrooms with visual perception. Right? So whenever they will see the painting or the wall picture of Gandhiji hanging on the wall, they will always associate that, yes, I have to remember the kind of values which was imparted by Gandhiji. Right? Of non-violence, I will always be truth. And they also kind of have a social control. Whenever they will tell or whenever they will try telling a lie or something like that, the picture will always make them remember that, remember my values of non-violence, of truth, of honesty, and etc. Right? So this is how anecdotes, right, the examples, the real life experiences, right, which will have a great impression on the children in inculcating values. The third is group activity. Group activity includes role playing, games, group discussion, and etc. Right? I still remember in my school there used to be a fancy dress competition where I always used to be a army personnel or a public servant, a doctor, and etc. Right? Just because of my doctor like face, cute face, innocent face, they used to make me doctor. Right? My teachers always used to say like, hang a stethoscope and you look like a doctor, and etc. Right? But that was not just about the role playing. I also got interested in the personality of doctors, and I also inculcated values, right, like a sense of or a value of hard work, a value of dedication through such activities. Right? That is how it becomes important for education institution to promote group activities like role playing, games, group discussion, group project, etc. Right? And through these activities, the student learns the value like team spirit, cooperation, coordination, empathy, compassion, dedication, leadership, and etc. Right? So What is the next way? It is cultural innovation. What is cultural innovation? Educational institutions create and transmit cultural values, right? The teacher does not transmit the same knowledge, but by adding his experience, he transmits updated values, right? So teachers should not be only the source of knowledge. He should also be the, he or she should also be the source of cultural transmission, right? Because here making a student culture sensible becomes very important, right? Because this is how it will shape their ideologies, right? So most of the time, think about this. So whenever we have a festivals like Gandhi Jayanti or Independence Day, Republic Day, and etc., we are usually given holiday. But why we are given holidays? Right? We should not be, because those are the days to impart important cultural values to the student. Why we should respect, or why should we have the feeling of patriotism towards our country? What are the values that we learn or we should continue from the Gandhiji, who is father of our nation? We should know all such values of the great persons of our countries, of the great days, historic days of our nation, right? So why we are given holidays and not the important values and learnings of those particular historic days and personalities on those specific days, which are basically given as a public holiday like Gandhi Jayanti, Independence Day, right? जब भी ईद होता है हमें छुट्टी दे दिया जाता है, क्यों? Why not this happens that at a school all the people from different cultures they come together and they celebrate Eid? इससे क्या होगा? जब हम सब साथ ईद मनाएंगे तो सिर्फ हम सेवैयां ही नहीं खाएंगे, हम सीखेंगे कि why this Eid is being celebrated, right? या फिर अगर हम साथ में let's say दिवाली मनाते हैं, तो it is not about lamping, it is not about firing or lighting a lamp. It is about the essence of value, the reason why that particular thing is being celebrated is being inculcated in the children, in the kids, right? The values through those particular activities, those particular festivities are enshrined in the students, right? ऐसा क्यों नहीं होता, right? इंडिपेंडेंस डे में ऐसा क्यों होता है कि हमें छुट्टी दे दिया जाता है डिस्पाइट टीचिंग अस व्हाई दैट पर्टिकुलर डे इज सेलिब्रेटेड, right? If I ask any normal student why Independence Day is celebrated, I assure that more than 50% of the individual will not be able to answer why Independent or Republic Day is being celebrated in our country, right? उस दिन यूजुअली ये बोलेंगे कि उस दिन स्कूल्स में जलेबियाँ मिलती हैं, फिर छुट्टी हो जाता है, हम नेशनल फ्लैग पर आते हैं एंड कुछ डांस वगैरह होते हैं एंड इट्स डन, right? They know nothing beyond it. Why not important values are inculcated about all such important days on that particular day, right? This is how cultural innovation becomes very important in shaping or inculcating values, right? The next is social integration. Educational institution molds a diverse population into a unified society, right? Here education institution becomes a melting point or melting pot, right? Where different elements they come together and they melt into a single unified society. It creates social organization in society by harmonizing the attitudes, ideas, customs, sentiments of the people, which is quite important in nations social diversity like India, right? And this is how it becomes important for education institution to promote the idea of social integration, because it plays or acts as a melting pot of different ideas, customs, sentiments, traditions, perspective, laws, and etc., right? Social placement. Educational institution enhances meritocracy by rewarding ability and effort regardless of social background, right? They will always inculcate a sense of meritocracy, a sense of hard work, a sense of dedication by rewarding the abilities, the true abilities of the individual. And this is how education institution inculcate different values through different ways, right? So this was all about ways through which EIs can inculcate values. Now let's see some of the challenges which are being faced by different education institutions when it comes to inculcating values. Recently, I was hearing one of the interview from one of the trustee of DPS, that is Delhi Public School, and she says that it is very challenging these days to inculcate right kind of values in students, right? Students are very sharp, students are very knowledgeable due to technological integrity or technological integration in the education system through media and etc, but imparting right kind of values so as to make those technological integration fruitful and productive, it is becoming very challenging to inculcate right kind of values, right? People are learning to use social medias, but it is very highly likable that they will end up misusing social media. They will end up doing something wrong about it. Why? Because there is no right kind of values that are being imparted to student to how to use social media in very productive and useful manner, in very constructive manner, right? So this is how it becomes very important for education institution, right? But again, they are also facing some kind of challenges, right? Like lack of value education. What is lack of value education in today's education institutions? The educations of fast changing technology like STEM. What is STEM? It is basically science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. It is being given to the student, but the values, right? The values to deal with the consequences or ill consequences of such stream or discipline is not departed, right? So this is one of the challenge, how to alter or how to formulate a curriculum curriculum so as to have a values, so as it have a values or ethics to deal with all the unwanted consequences of the discipline, right? If we are learning about the AI, if we are learning about the genetic engineering, we should also learn about the negative consequences and the values, right? Values, or how to use AI ethically, right? If we are learning about the AI, we should also learn about how to use AI responsibly, right? Use AI responsibly. And this is what is missing in today's education system, right? The lack of value education. We are not being given the value education about the ill consequences of the or how to use the particular stream or discipline, right? The second is religious educational institutions, right? So here the proliferation of religious educational institutions, right? So there are several examples or several incidents of like madrasas, right? Madrasas in madrasas in Islamic countries, they are departing very negative values like jihadist ideas in their educational institutions, right? A very separatist idea in their education institutions, separatist ideas in their education institutions, right? So this is what a challenge is being faced by today's time, that religious education institutions are kind of promoting very separatist value, very stigmatized values of the societies. The examples of madrasas, they are promoting the ideas of jihadist tendencies, right? And what are the consequences? Terrorism, right? So this is one of the major challenge. Politicization of curriculums, right? Recently we have seen the incident of chapter alteration, right? Chapter alteration of NCRT, NCRTs, right? NCRTs are being updated. Why? Because of politicization. There are removal of certain chapters on Tipu Sultans and etc. Why? We should learn the history in their real sense. We should learn the history in their real sense. That I will agree to. But politicization of curriculum will always manifest in negative consequence, right? Because you cannot change history. One cannot change history. One will only try to propagate their agenda, right? One will always try to propagate their ideology or agenda. One cannot change the history, right? So this must be stopped. The politicization of curriculums must be stopped. Methodology of teaching. In today's time, the methodology of teaching is very much confined to rote learning. Rote learning. What is rote learning? Rote learning is basically the notion that you learn in order to produce in the exam, right? You learn for the sake of exam. You just try to mug up the idea and we just try to produce that in the piece of paper during our exam, and hence we end up getting nothing other than the marks, other than the scores in the exam, which is just a feel good factor for a moment. After that we get nothing out of it. Right? So education institution as industrial hub, right? This is the last challenge. Industrial institutions are becoming industrial hub. Why? Through commercialization. Through commercialization, right? Commercialization. The people who can afford the exorbitant fees, they are only departed education and the rest are being neglected. Why? Why commercialization of education? Why don't we make education as a public good? Public good, despite having right to education as a basic right. Right? Why don't we have great public schools to go to? Right? So this is also one of the very important challenges that is being faced by the education institution in inculcating values, right? So we are almost done with the lecture, that is role of education institution in inculcating values. Now let's practice a question, right? You can try attempting this particular question. What are the key role and education institutions can play in inculcating values in the students of Gen Zers? Okay, who are the Gen Z students? So the students who are basically born in millennium or post 2000, right? Post 2000, they are basically Gen Z students, right? So the students who are born with technology, they are Gen Z students, right? So what are the key role and education institutions can play in shaping the values of the students of Gen Z, right? You try attempting this question. It is very expected question, right? Because taking into the consideration the pace of change of technology, this kind of questions or amalgamation of different streams like technology and ethics becomes very important, right? And here education institution being one of the key factor in shaping or making student future ready, it becomes very imperative for us the kind of role that an education institution can play in shaping or inculcating values in individual or student to make them what future ready, right? In the world of AI, in the world of gene editing, in the world of cloning, right? In the world of what? Generative language programming like ChatGPT and etc. It becomes very important for education institution and also for the government, right, to have that kind of a policy formulation so as to make sure that there is a great value imparting from the education institution to the students, right? So try attempting this question and you can send me the answer in the Telegram channel that I will mention in the link. Go and join the particular community where we all will share various material related to UPSC and also share our answer scripts so that I will evaluate them and also I will give your responsive feedback, right? With this, thank you for watching, people, and ensure to show your love by subscribing to the channel, that is UPSC by Naman Raj Gupta, and also like the video, and please do comment if you want to give any feedback. Okay, so with this, let's end today's lecture with a very very positive note, that is, as you strive so you thrive. आप जितनी मेहनत करेंगे आपको उतनी फल मिलेगी.